Sit! Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Rich Dotson, and my fellow nerds, Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
Garrett Price.
How's it going?
And we got Jared Wackerly back at the producer position.
Hey, the whack is back.
How you guys been, man?
Hey, good, man. How about you?
Couldn't pass up the opportunity to have a former quarterback at Akron to be at the show when we're talking quarterbacks.
The funny thing is, we were even talking about it on the way up, and he's like, the position of all these I care about the least is the quarterback. And I was like, Jared, you're a quarterback. But, he doesn't.
It's because we play fantasy.
Yeah.
It's just much different.
It is.
So this is it. This is the kickoff
I thought you embrace it, though.
of our annual rookie breakdowns. We're going to start off the quarterbacks this week, and then we will go on to the running backs the following week. That'll take 2 weeks to cut through, and then we will do the tight ends. Well, then we'll have a break. We'll have a slight intermission between the running backs
free agents,
for
right?
free agency.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do that. We're actually record that next Saturday because I'll be in the Dominican Republic on Tuesday with the family. Spring break. Woo, spring break. Yeah, look at me celebrating spring break with a 13 and 10-year-old. Can't wait. It's all inclusive. It's gonna be
Times
great.
have changed.
And then we'll be doing running backs, tight ends, wide receivers.
Wide receivers last. Yep.
Yeah. So then it'll be an NFL draft breakdown. Can't wait. So we got a lot to get into. We will make sure that you have a lot of things covered here when it comes to the rookies. And of course, when it's all said and done, we will then give you an overall rank. This is not, we'll kind of give you how we feel about them now. NFL draft will kind of dictate things here. With the quarterbacks, we've come to the conclusion a couple of years ago that we let the NFL draft kind of tell you which quarterbacks that you really need to get.
That's going to form our opinion, I think, a lot. Because a lot of these guys, we don't know a lot of the stuff that goes on between guys' ears. Mm-hmm. The general managers obviously get a little bit more information than we do in that kind of respect. But, it's like system fit and all that kind of stuff. All that kind of stuff matters so much more to quarterbacks. So we do have to wait to see landing spots to really tell you, hey, I like this guy in this system. That kind of stuff does matter, I think, more than any other position.
And you want that top 15, top 10 pick installation is what you want. Because then they're guaranteed starts, right? They're guaranteed opportunity. And we talk about it all the time. Even if you're a middling quarterback, a quarterback 2, quarterback 18, 19, 20, you're still a top 50, top 70 overall fantasy football scorer. And right now, the quarterback market in Superflex leagues, it's not pretty. And you're in a Superflex startup and you get past that first round, right around the turn right there. Like, you're like, oh man, I hope I get Dak Prescott. Because after that,
it falls off.
It falls off pretty quickly. So the quarterback market right now in Superflex, it's dry. So everybody needs them. That's why this year, after Bijan Robinson, and if you want to take one of these guys over Bijan, say you want to take Stroud, Young, or Anthony Richardson over Bijan Robinson at 1-1, I would say you should just trade back out of 1-1 and get a little bit more of a haul. But I don't hate that because quarterbacks trump all in Superflex. So you'll see some other analysts, some other dynasty analysts, they'll say, hey, I got to take Jackson Smith and Jigba here. But if Will Levis goes top 10, you have to take Will Levis over Jackson Smith and Jigba. And sometimes you'll end up with Zach Wilson and it might not pan out. But other times you're going to end up with Justin Herbert and you're going to end up with even Daniel Jones, right? It doesn't always pan out, but those are gambles you have to take because in Superflex, if you don't have the quarterback, you're going to have a much harder time getting to that championship. And that's our big end goal here, right? You got to get that championship caliber player, and the quarterback is going to propel you to that championship.
100%, man. They're difference makers.
So we'll always see on this show where, Bijan's a special talent. We'll be talking about him soon, and I would take Bijan 1-1. But the big thing, too, just because if Bijan, you'll see other analysts, I've seen this a lot on Twitter where some analysts will be like, oh, if you have the 1-1 in your Superflex class, the running back's he's not the answer. He's not your savior. And you're right. The running back's not the long-term solution, but Bijan's so special. Once you draft him, either one, you can trade out the 1-1, or once you draft him, he's going to be a blue chip player that you can now trade for the proven quarterback, right? You can go out and get the proven guy.
Well, and also you and I were talking about it before the show even started. You don't want to miss early in your draft. No. You miss early in your draft, it really sets you back. And so that's why, Bijan does get elevated to that spot because he's such a difference maker, but he's also so safe.
Exactly. And why you don't yes, Jackson Smith and Jigba. I love him. He's my wide receiver 1. I feel pretty confident in being a solid fantasy producer. But if the quarterback hits, if you hit Will Levis or Bryce Young and he hits, or Anthony Richardson and he hits, well, if Anthony Richardson hits, you can go get anybody you want at receiver. If Anthony Richardson hits, you can go get AJ Brown, right? Like,
save him for the next show.
We'll save it. We'll talk about it. But
Rich likes him.
If
possibly,
if the quarterback hits, you don't have to worry about the rookie that you drafted hitting. You can go get the player that's proven. If you want Chris Olave, you can go get him. You want Garrett Wilson, you can go get him with a proven quarterback. Nobody likes to give up those players, but everybody wants a young quarterback.
I got Garrett Wilson today.
I saw that trade.
You did?
I saw that trade.
Did you guys like that?
Was that the Treylon Burks?
Yeah, Treylon Burks in 108 in a 1 QB league for Garrett Wilson.
100%. I love it.
I got Saquon last night too. I made a trade too. Nice. One QB, give a 112, a 24 first, and 24 second. Got DeAndre Hopkins and Saquon.
I like that.
And I'm back-to-back champs.
Back-to-back.
About to go try. I'm about to be like,
Good luck.
About to be like Jared with his kids. 3-peat.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's life.
So before we get into these rookie breakdowns,
I have some data on first round quarterbacks just real quick before we get into that. So in their first 3 years in the league, first round quarterbacks produce a hit, and a hit is considered a top 12 finish at the quarterback position at roughly 46%. So kind of piggybacking off what you guys said, we're looking for first round quarterbacks. And then as you dig deeper into non-top 10 picks at the quarterback position, 85% of them fail to hit in their first three years. So we're really looking for top 10 guys.
So it's top 10 draft capital.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the cutoff for this data set.
Nice.
And that makes sense, because if you go outside the top 10, then you're much riskier. You're talking like Jason Campbell's.
And if multiple quarterbacks go within the top 10, there are some like arbitrage opportunity, because like we can pick and choose like who we like better within that. If there's 4 of them that go, typically the guy with the later ADP is a better chance. You get better value from targeting that guy or trading back.
Because it's from a better team?
No, not that, but like any quarterback, if you just put them all together, like they're all equal, 4 quarterbacks, if you're going to take the guy that's going later in the draft, they still have the same
later
odds
in your
at
rookie
producing.
draft.
Yeah,
than
they still
your
have the same odds of producing
NFL
a
draft.
hit, technically. But
and by selecting a quarterback in the top 10, you're literally drafting the most insulated dynasty prospect you possibly get. Mm-hmm. If they don't do anything that first year, they don't look great, they don't lose a lot of value. Mm-mm. So even if you're out, you could still trade those players and get back up another high draft pick into your draft class. So it's a very well insulated position. It's a very it's a proven position that's going to get lots of opportunity. If you're in the top 10, you're going to get probably 2 to 3 years.
You talk about guys that are top 10 picks. What about guys that people move up for and give multiple picks to? I mean, like the Jordan Loves and the Trey Lances, they are super insulated. They've done absolutely nothing, but they're still getting opportunities 3 and 4 years later, and they really haven't shown anything in the NFL.
With the Aaron Rodgers news, to this day, you can get right now. You could probably get a 24 first or a 23 first for Jordan Love. Hasn't done a single thing. Right. People still love Trey Lance. He still goes really high in these super flex startup drafts. Like they love him. Why? Because they gave up so much to give him, and they're like, wait till he gets his opportunity.
Exactly. So
if you're out from Trey Lance, like you're real worried, he's still insulated. You can still get a high 23 pick in this draft class, and you had him for 2 years.
And you know, for Dynasty, they're insulated because the NFL teams are still holding on to hope that they're still going to get something out of these guys, because they've given up so much of their assets to get them.
So for all this film that we watch it in the Dynasty Nerds film room.
Yep.
And what we have there is we have a library of every rookie that's in this draft class. Some rookies that are going to be out in next year's class as well, but we have every rookie that's going to come out here and play. And we have anywhere from 3 to 10 games on each player. A lot of all 22 film is in there as well. So if you want to see what we see, that's where we watch it. And when we break down these players, we do it over 2 shows. We have the Nerd Herd show, which is our subscriber base, and the free show. We do this to get through all the prospects and, to help pay for our development of all our tools. So if you want to get in there and watch the film, if you want to hear our complete breakdowns on every player, if you want to have access to the Dynasty GM, which is an amazing tool. I literally had somebody write our league the other day. He's like, wow, I haven't been in the GM in a couple of weeks or in like a month. He's like, I went on there. He's like, I literally thought my team was okay. And now looking at it from a bird's eye view compared to the rest of the league, I need to blow this up. I'm ranked 11th out of 12th. And the GM's right. I need to blow this up. He would have had no idea his team was in such bad shape. It's a person I traded. I got Saquon off for 2 firsts. And I got Nuke. I gave a 2 firsts and a second for Nuke and Saquon.
Your team does suck. Trade me your best players.
What's what he did? He's blowing it up, which he should. And it was because the GM helped him. So if you want access to the Dynasty GM, if you want to hear all the episodes, you want the Nerd Score, which is a proven hit where Jared, Garrett, and another writer, right?
No, it's just the two of us.
Them two break down the film.
We kind of tried to add this illusion for a while, but it's me and Jared.
Okay. If you want access to everything that Dynasty Nerds have for a full year, like a full year subscription, right now we're offering the best bang for your buck that we've ever offered in the history of Dynasty Nerds over the last 9 years. You can get an entire year subscription for everything that we offer for $10. Now, our year-long subscription usually goes for $70. A year-long subscription for $10. All you have to do is go to Underdog Fantasy, download the app, and deposit $10 and use the promo code NERDS. If you use the promo code NERDS, you will get emailed a promo code that will give you a free year of everything we have to offer at Nerds. So if you've been curious about, like, you've been listening to the podcast, you enjoyed the podcast, but you're like, you know what, I'm not paying $70. I'm not paying a cup of coffee a month to get all your tools and whatnot. I don't know. I don't need to see it. $10 full year. You're paying literally less than $1 a day to check it out and give it a chance and see if it's for you. If you play Dynasty, I promise it's for you. You go to Underdog, download the app, put in that promo code. And what is Underdog? It's a place where you play best ball leagues. I use it all the time. Literally, once my season's over and they open up the leagues, I join a slow draft. Once that draft ends, I usually do about $25 leagues. Once that draft ends, I join another one. I do this all the way until August.
I have five so far.
Because I love it so much. So it's, you draft your team like you would any other team. No waivers, no weekly lineups decision because it's best ball. You just draft your best players and they're automatically started for you each and every single week. So Underdog's gonna let you draft your fantasy team in minutes with their like nice, easy app, right? Like it's very slick, it's very nice. They offer tons of different best ball leagues. You know, we mentioned last week our buddy Pat Coran won $2 million. $2 million in the best ball tournament.
Just a little bit.
And I love it for dynasty players because right now, when you're ahead on the rookies, that's where you find the value in these best ball drafts, right? Like you're going to get the Devin A-Chains, the Zach Charbonnets over guys that are drafting players that like are nobodies, right? Like or
Tyler Algiers or somebody like that that just could be replaced by one of these running backs.
100%. So sign up right now. Use the promo code NERDS. Not only are we going to get a free year, but they're also going to deposit the initial deposit up to $100. So right now, get in there. You're going to get so much for $10.
Huge deal, man.
And you're going to use Underdog and win some more money and do some best ball drafts.
There'll be a link in the show notes too. So in case you
check it out.
Click it.
And right. Rich, you're going to be hosting a best ball draft, and I'm going to shoot out an email to everybody that's signed up. We have all your email addresses. We'll send out the invite link to all of you. It'll be first come, first serve. But
yes.
We're going to keep doing that
every week.
We're going to keep track of who got entered, and once you are into a league, we're going to remove your name from the invite list, and then we're just going to keep going. So your name will stay in the pool. But if you do join that Nerd Herd, we're posting drafts all the time in a Discord. So
you get access to Discord. And Jared did mention you will get access to playing a best ball league with Matt, myself, or Jared.
Garrett. He comes 1 week and you forget my name.
I know.
I'm hosting. I'm hosting
and
too,
Jared. So every single
list.
week, we will take somebody who uses the promo code NERDS and we'll get you into a league with us and play some best ball. I love it. I do it all the time. I've been using Underdog since first it was draft and it got bought by NBC. Then he started Underdog. I've been using it since the first day it launched. I love this partnership because it's something I truly believe in. I have so much fun playing.
Got bought by FanDuel, but
and then they shut it down.
If you are a Nerd Herd member, you do get something too. We're sending you guys T-shirts, so you'll also get an email to sign up a Google form, and we're gonna ship you guys Dynasty Nerds T-shirts. So,
if you're already a Nerd Herd member, like, what do we get? We're gonna send you the most comfortable T-shirt in the world, we'll get you the colors we can get you. Whatever. If you you have on a sheet a preference of what color they want.
I don't. No.
Okay. Well, if you have a favorite team, you can put a preference on there. We can't guarantee we can fulfill it. If we
I didn't know what you had.
We'll give you a comment. Well, check out what we have on the site. You can look at the site beforehand.
We have a blue team. We have a red team.
We got a lot of teams. We got like 17 teams. So that's it. Let's get into these rookies. We've talked too much about Underdog, but it's such a great opportunity if you're using that promo code NERDS to get a free year.
Totally.
And what do you hear what I got to say about who's on the next show? Anthony Richardson, right? And CJ Stroud.
Yes, CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson. On
you have to just join to hear what I got to say about Anthony Richardson. It's very important you do. It's very important you do.
Of the utmost importance.
All right.
So let's get started, right?
Let's get started.
First guy up, Bryce Young, measured in at a whopping 5'10", 204 pounds, 9 3/4 inch hands. So he didn't do any of the other like kind of drills or anything like that. So we don't have any shuttle numbers or anything like that. 40 times. He is 21 years old. He was born in July.
How much does he weigh?
204.
That's bullcrap.
From what I hear, he bulked up to 204.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of buffets are running in Indianapolis, but they had to be some good ones because there's 0% chance Bryce Young weighs 204. 0%.
In the games that we watched.
What was the movie where the guy's like weighing in for his boxing match and he has like a Twinkie wrapped inside like Wonder Bread or something and he's like shoving it in his mouth as he's weighing in?
Bricks in his pocket or anything like that? No.
Yeah. I think it was
I'm
something like
surprised
that.
if he's not like those fishermen that were caught in like Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
Swallowing those metal. I'll poop them out. You know, like that's time.
So Bryce Young.
Those are award-winning fish right there.
Bryce Young is a fascinating prospect. So he's one of these guys in the Devy circles. He was a highly regarded prospect. He got to play pretty early on, started as a sophomore at Alabama. And all he did was produce. I mean, all he did was produce. I get it. The size is not ideal in the least. We're talking about one of the smallest quarterbacks that we've ever seen.
He's 5'10" and an eighth. I forgot the eighth.
You got to give him every little bit.
I bet he let his feet callus up a lot to get that eighth of an inch.
So he is.
How do you make your feet callous up?
I don't know. Walk on
Just
hot rocks.
Not get
rub
pedicures.
him against bricks all day.
Yeah.
That would wear him down, right?
Run on pavement.
Eventually, they would callus up.
Yeah, you're
though.
right. Eventually.
You got to start early.
Yes. This was a long-term plan.
Botox. I don't know.
Botox.
His feet are so swollen.
Those lip injections he goes to.
Not a single wrinkle in those feet.
Bryce, you want us to make your lips bigger? No. Put them in my heels and my
feet.
and the balls of my feet.
It's gonna be some inserts, man.
Oh man, I heard about some guys that they would like have this thing where they would get their legs broken and then like extended.
Yeah,
and
it's
all
a
that
real
stuff.
thing. They break your bones. They put metal rods in there to slowly make them longer.
So what do you guys think about Bryce Young?
We're getting there.
So
man.
he was
This is
one of
important
these.
stuff, Jared. Quite.
This is why I'm here. This is why I'm back.
Yeah,
Shut the hell up.
Get back to the prospect.
Go back home.
So he's one of these guys that in Devy circles, we have these quarterbacks that kind of come out of nowhere during a season. This was not one of those guys. He's always been regarded as one of the most talented prospects. He's always been looked at as an elite passer of the football. And watching his tape, he is a very good passer. He can hit long range, short range, intermediate, doesn't matter. He can make all of the throws. He obviously had a lot of winning games at Alabama. So there's a lot of things on the surface that to like about Bryce Young. But all of these prospects that we're going to talk about, even the biggest name ones like Bryce, there's all warts with all of them. None of them are these perfect, complete prospects. And for him, it's really going to come down to size. If he had come in at 6'2", which obviously he wasn't, but if he had come in at 6'2", 215 pounds, I think this would easily be, it's Bryce Young. He's the guy. He can do it all. But he's not. And so there are some very real concerns about, can he withstand the wear and tear of the NFL beating? So I think that's going to be the big question. But we're talking about a guy that's thrown for nearly 5,000 yards at times. So, I mean, he is a legit passer of the football. But can he make it happen at the NFL level? We're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very well accomplished player. 2021 Heisman winner. And that year, he set a record at Alabama with 4,872 passing yards, 47 touchdowns. Went on the following year. Numbers went down last year, only 33, 28 at yards.
A few less games too, though.
But, two-time All-American, Maxwell Award winner, left Alabama, second in career passing yards, second in touchdowns. He did this all in 2 years. Had a really good coaching and offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien, who's now with the Patriots, offensive coordinator. He played in a pro-style offense. He can read defenses, moves in the pocket really, really well, shows really good anticipation. Some big-time fourth-quarter comebacks, which means a lot as well, to have the be able to stand in the pocket and bring your team back.
That's the NFL game right there. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to do that to win games in the NFL and just be a quarterback.
And don't get me wrong, he's not like a crazy athlete, but he's mobile. He is able to get out and make stuff happen.
At college, he was mobile. Good poise.
But we're not expecting him to be a running quarterback. At the NFL
Oh,
level.
no. I'm not at my cons yet.
Yeah.
Uses his eyes well. Has that quick release, very accurate, shows the football smart, improvises really well, hence the fourth quarter comebacks there. Sure. Really good moving behind the line of scrimmage and making things happen. And, I mean, even though he's short in college, he only had one ball batted down at the line of scrimmage, which is good. My concerns, size. It's not just his height. Like I said, this dude does not weigh 204 pounds. He did
not play at 204. He weighed 204 pounds at the combine. He didn't do any of the workouts, which is always a red flag for me when guys don't even do anything. I mean, I know they're quarterbacks, but I mean, when you're going to the combine and you're all of a sudden weighing in at something that you don't look like you've played at, and then you don't do any of the drills, none of the running, none of the anything. It almost
discounts the weight completely.
It discounts the weight for me. Like, I'm like, all right, you just put on phony weight, and it's bad weight, and you're gonna drop that weight.
Which, by the way, quite a few running backs did that this year, even though they didn't weigh in well. So I'm really concerned about some of those guys when we get to the running back.
Look at Bryce's picture next to Kyler when Kyler's 207. Right. He's clearly 17 pounds.
Just completely different body build.
Yeah, so he's about 190. So that when you talk about like these quarterbacks that are smaller, right? Like the Russell Wilsons, the Kyler Murrays, they're stouter, right? They're thicker. They're more muscle there. You know, with Bryce, he's not that way. He's skinny. He's 5'10" 1/8. That's a huge concern with me because these guys in the NFL, like Micah Parsons could hit Bryce Young so hard, his kids will come out with welts. Like that's how fragile he could be, right? Myles Garrett could literally break him.
Myles Garrett standing next to that dude.
He could literally put him in his graveyard.
Yeah.
Dude, so
seriously.
And I'm sorry, I am sorry that is a concern for me. Is Bryce Young a really good quarterback? Yes. And I hope to God he doesn't go the Colts because, you know, the Colts, which I don't think he'll go the Colts, but if he does, the Colts gave up the second most sacks in the NFL last year. They gave up 60 sacks compared to the Falcons, Texans, and Panthers. All three of them gave up only 17. So with Bryce Young, that has to be a concern for you, right? They has to be somewhere on your mind because you're hoping he could turn into the one outlier we've seen for a guy who's not as thick possibly is like Drew Brees, right? Like Drew Brees is one of the greatest quarterbacks I've ever seen, and he made it work. But we're talking about a guy, right? Because I'm not using Russell Wilson. I'm not using Kyler Murray as examples. They're thicker than him. And that means something. 20 pounds means something. This is a quarterback that got hurt, his shoulder hurt, just getting tackled behind the line of scrimmage. So when we have these big NFL defensive linemen, they can hurt him. You mentioned his arm. To me, his deep ball, it's meh. To me, it's Mel. And if you look at his numbers outside the numbers and deep balls, his numbers drop drastically there.
So this was something that I was going to note. I haven't gotten around to kind of giving my spiel, but I know that the perception out there is he's super accurate. There were off target throws.
Sure.
And a few too many for me to be like, oh, this guy's ultra accurate. Sometimes it's a miscommunication between the quarterback and wide receiver, so it's hard to judge from just watching the film who was right, who was wrong, because you're not always seeing the whole picture, literally when you're watching film. So I didn't know the stats that you had read off just now. You told that to us before the show here. And I think that makes sense. I think that in my brain kind of helps to explain some of the off-target throws that I've seen. And I'm going to have to go watch. I think all the games that I already watched, I'm going to watch them again and then watch them through that lens and make sure some of the off-target throws and see if they're outside the numbers. Because my suspicion is that is going to be the majority of where they were. Because I in my brain I had already noted downfield wasn't great, as far as accuracy. Now I'm going to have to watch again and see outside the numbers.
Pay attention. Anything 20 yards downfield and anything outside the numbers, his accuracy slips.
Because to me, I had already written down, kind of in my final notes that, is this guy, I have some questions about him. I like a lot of things. Size is obviously going to be everyone's first question. But my other one is he just like a distributor, like one of these guys that operates in the middle of the field and the defense can really just kind of ignore those outside areas and the deep stuff, because that can congest a lot of stuff and make it hard to run the ball and all sorts of stuff for offense.
I don't have as many concerns as you guys do with the down the field. I didn't see as many that I was overly concerned with where it was severe underthrows or things like that.
They weren't they were just off target throws for me.
Sure.
And I want to use the word severe. It's not like terrible, but you'll see it's a drastic switch.
But
he dominates the short, intermediate, in the middle.
But I do think that there is a difference between guys like Levis and Stroud and Richardson, where they have much stronger arms, I would say, overall, where it looks easy for them to do some of those things. One positive, and I was going to wait and see if anybody talked about it, but one positive that I do really want to make sure that I know on Bryce Young is he is a highly, highly intelligent player by all accounts.
Yep, very much.
They talked about how quickly he could read defenses, and you can see that. You can see how quickly he can read things, get through his progressions quickly, which is a very, very important trait for the next level.
It is.
And they would talk about how they would give him the scouting report for the upcoming team on Sunday. And by Monday morning, every time he would have all these notes, all these questions, he had everything more or less mastered by the time that he would come in on Monday morning. So shows his intelligence level to be able to do that and process that quickly, but also his work ethic to make sure that he can get all that prepared.
And all that's fantastic, and all that's next level stuff. You know what I mean? That's stuff he's going to need to carry over, and he's going to need to be extra. You know what I mean? At his size, he has to be extraordinary in a lot of different ways for him, to succeed at the NFL level. I'm not 100% sold that he can do that quite yet.
Sure.
I do have some more film to watch. I'm not like out on him by any stretch, but I'm not ready to say, hey, this guy is going to be a fantasy difference maker. And
sure.
That's where I have a hard time. Like, how, even if he is still like able to operate as an NFL quarterback, does he do anything like exceptional where he's going to be like this off the charts quarterback for fantasy purposes? Because he's not going to give you anything in the running game in the NFL.
Exactly where I was going to finish my statement was the one concern I have about Bryce Young. If Bryce Young finds success, not surprised in the least bit. The guy's super talented, very, very accurate, very smart. But will the limitations he has limit his fantasy production? You can't have this guy run. He'll be deceased. Like he can't run.
His kappa was dictated.
Now, granted, like guys like Devontae Smith, but
he'll be a chain mover runner. Like
he'll be a chain mover,
yes,
and
like what Kyler Murray does. Like he tries to run safe.
And he's like really, he's really good at navigating the pocket and all sorts of everything around him.
So Mahomes is kind of like
so I think he's going to be able to. I think he's going to be able to get some good yards where things are breaking down in front of him, and he can just like kind of sneak out and find a lane and
get 7-8 yards.
And get 7-8 yards. But that's not going to get you. That's not going to move the needle for fantasy purposes. That's great for your NFL team. That's great for moving the chains and having these nice long sustained drives and stuff like that. But from a fantasy standpoint, he's going to have to be. He's going to have to be Drew Brees to be like.
And I will say this, and with all of this being said, I think for fantasy purposes, his ceiling is probably the lowest of these four.
Yes.
I think he has the lowest ceiling. I think he has a very high floor, but I think he has a low ceiling.
Yeah, an NFL starter, but yeah, I mean, ceiling's limited, floor's safe as well. I would be very happy. So, full clarity, I have the top 5 quarterbacks. I have me personally, I have it ranked C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, Will Levis, Hendon Hooker. Those are my 5 guys that I would rank them in that order. And with Richardson, I'll tell you why I have him as my 1B, and I'll tell you why I have C.J. Stroud as my 1A. It's in the next episode. But if I had Bryce Young, so I would go, Bijan Robinson, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and then at 4, I'm taking Bryce Young.
That's assuming those 4 top guys are like top 10 picks, right?
Assume they're top 10 picks. Anthony Richardson's got to go in the top 10.
Right.
To get him into this category, he has to go top 10. I assume he will after that combine, everything I'm hearing. If I was at 1-4 and Bryce Young's on the clock, and the person who has 1-1, and this is a situation where their team is really bad, and I know that Bryce Young's not going to make a difference on there, and I can get maybe 2-1 and they're first next year, so they can get Bryce Young, or say they love Will Levis, I would make that trade to put me in position to get Caleb Williams, or worst case, get like Drake May or Marvin Harrison Jr. and get 2-1 and still get a quality player. I would make that trade.
You're talking about Superflex, obviously.
Superflex.
Yeah.
And let everybody know when we're talking quarterbacks, it's always Superflex. Right. Because if in a 1 QB, I'm taking Anthony Richardson first. Yeah, because I'm shooting for the ceiling.
That's actually a question I was going to ask if you guys don't mind. I divert the conversation real quick. Like, how does your strategy change from taking quarterbacks in 1 QB versus Superflex? Obviously, you take quarterbacks earlier in Superflex drafts, but like the type of profile of the quarterback position that you would target.
Ceiling means everything. So Bryce Young drop like in Superflex in 1 QB, Bryce Young drops for me because, like Garrett mentioned, the ceiling's on a high. Anthony Richardson, his ceiling's so high, and if he's top 10, like he's so insulated with his rushing ability, like I'm taking him number 1 overall because he's going to give me. I don't care if it's even short lived. Like if he's out of the NFL in 4 years, I don't even care.
You're not taking him one overall.
Number 1 quarterback overall.
The first quarterback.
But like I'd be okay with taking him, like, which I don't like taking quarterbacks in the first round. I'd be okay with taking Anthony Richardson like 112 in a 1 QB.
I probably would too.
So it changes for me.
Yeah, that's a bit early for me. In a 1 QB, even just
I said maybe.
Yeah, that's a bit early for me, but I get the concept, and I'm on board for that because that is the difference for me as well. One QB league, everyone's got a quarterback. Everyone's got a pretty good quarterback for the most part. So there's no sense in getting just another okay quarterback. You shoot for the moon, and you just keep rotating those guys in the background until you hit again.
You want Josh Allen, Justin Herbert,
right?
Pat Mahomes. Unless you want that, like if you had Justin Fields last year and a 1 QB, like. You're riding pretty, so I want that, and that's what Anthony Richardson.
And for a long time, the league was you were trying to find that pocket passer. Those were the guys that were going to maybe throw 50 touchdowns in a year. That is the past. Like you got to get the guys with the rushing upside and the passing upside now for it to be like a huge fantasy success. Yeah. So that's why you just keep shooting for those kind of guys that maybe they got a wart, maybe they're not super accurate, or maybe their accuracy is inconsistent, but they're great with their legs, and if they get drafted high. You go shoot for the moon on one of those guys because the NFL guys figure they can fix the issues with the inconsistencies.
And to show how, we talked about how we do let the NFL draft and different things like give us that value of where we want these guys and different things like that. But we're still talking about, the third and fourth quarterbacks. Still keep an eye on those guys because you just mentioned Mahomes and Allen and Herbert. None of those guys were the first quarterbacks for rookie drafts. None of them.
Right.
And the guy that most people would have next, Jalen Hurts, definitely wasn't.
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields wasn't. Like a lot of the top quarterbacks aren't always the 1-1 in Superflex, aren't always the top quarterbacks. So that's why we've got to, we've still got to take shots on these guys, even if they're the third or the fourth quarterback in their class.
I mean, Justin Herbert,
first round.
Justin Herbert was, a lot of people were laughing at me when I was drafting him, 10th overall in the first round, like of Superflex drafts. But he ended up being,
an elite fantasy.
An elite guy.
People were laughing at me because I was trading up to 1.5 to go get Justin Herbert.
Right.
That's why I have so many shares.
Right.
So that's great. Bryce Young. Let's move on to our second prospect, our sleeper quarterback of the week. Sleeper, the number one fantasy hosting platform out there right now. Check them out. Sleeper.
You know what I like to sleep in? Levi's. The next guy, Will Levis, not Levi's.
Why do I imagine you sleeping with Levi's on, but you also like have a cowboy hat over your eyes? You got a dip in. You got like that. That was the picture I just had.
An accurate photo. I mean, that's exactly how I sleep, so that makes sense.
I wear cowboy boot slides.
All right, so Will Levis.
Cowboy Crocs.
Never in my life will I have Crocs on my feet. Quarterback Kentucky, 6'4", 229 pounds. He had 10 5/8 inch hands. Jeez, oh man. Also didn't do much running. He did a broad jump, 124 inches. He's 23 years old, so a little bit of older prospect. Last year, he had 2,406 yards passing, 19 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and not a great rushing total, negative 107, because in college they count sacks against your rushing total, which is pretty stupid. Year before, 376 yards rushing. So he can rush, and
that's one of his better attributes.
Yeah, actually has shown pretty nicely.
And to be fair with Will Levis, he played hurt all year.
Yep.
So he had a turf toe, which is
hard.
Bad. I mean, he got the turf toe after like week 5 games in the season. He got a turf toe.
He's throwing the freshman all year too.
Yeah, he had multiple injuries. He had the ankle, the shoulder, dislocated finger, the turf toe, which he had to work with all year. So because in 2021, his PFF grade was 90.6. Last year, 68.6. What was around him, the freshmen, which are high-quality freshmen.
Yeah.
But
freshmen nonetheless.
The turf toe, the shoulder injury, the dislocated finger, the freshman, it hurt him in 21.
Mm-hmm.
22.
Yeah.
So.
What do you think about him, Rich?
What year is it?
21, they had Wendell Robinson.
So he originally signed with Penn State. Then he transferred to Kentucky. This is a prospect that he's very intriguing, right? So this is a guy. This is a guy that has great NFL size and a very strong arm with a very quick release. I mean, this guy can put the ball anywhere on the field. Play in a pro-style offense, can make those strong throws while on the move too. So he's really impressive when he's on the move as well, still making those strong throws. And this is somebody with his size can run into the end zone. He has in 21, he had 516 rushing yards total without the sacks.
Okay.
I saw him put the ball in some really tight windows. His career completion percentage, 64.9%. last year's tape, it's a little funny, but if you watch his 21 tape, some of it is better than his 22 tape. But this was a guy that also, according to PFF, 5% of his throws were behind the line of scrimmage. So that's a lot of behind the line.
A lot of screens.
65% completion percentage. His pocket presence is okay. His accuracy needs to be better. But, I mean, I feel like a lot of his issues are his lower body mechanics. Like, his feet aren't, like, perfectly great. And if you could fix that, which, we've seen a lot of quarterbacks lately been fixed.
And I feel like a lot of the time it is the footwork that's all screwed up. Their feet aren't underneath them, and they don't have a solid base. They're throwing all these weird platforms and everything like that. And that's the one thing he's consistently inconsistent. And he could do a much better job, I think, with ball placement as well, like leading his receivers and putting it in a place where they can have yards after the catch and stuff like that. So he does have some things to work on in that area, but footwork was a thing that I had written down as he needs to clean this up. He's got some work to do here. So hopefully, this is a case where this is one of the cases where, you clean up the footwork and it kind of travels up and the accuracy and kind of consistency comes with it.
His decision-making sometimes makes some questionable decisions. 25 interceptions, 17 fumbles he had in college. Doesn't lead his receivers all the time. Like, he doesn't anticipate as well as you want him to. Struggled in the red zone this year. Took way too many sacks. Like you said, his rushing numbers were down. He had 10 sacks, 4 interceptions in the red zone. Now, he was pressured 35% of the time when he dropped back. I think it was like the second most in his class.
That was one of the biggest things I want to talk about is the difference between, and we talk about the weapons, but the difference between his offensive line his junior year versus his offensive line his senior year. Drastic difference. And we know that that's huge for the entire offense, being able to have time to throw, being able to actually, do stuff in the play action game and things like that. Like, he needed to have that time and he just didn't. But there were a lot of things when we're talking about measurables, he's got the measurables. He's got the size, he's got the build, he's got the look, he looks like a quarterback.
He's got a gun too.
He does.
Absolutely.
And it's really quick.
Yep.
And it's really smooth.
It's different.
It is.
His release is really
it sounds different. It looks different. I've
never seen anything like his throwing motion.
Yes, it is very,
it's like
very
a flick.
It is. It comes out very naturally. So he's got a lot of those raw tools that you look for in a quarterback. But the opposite of what I saw in Bryce, it took him a little bit longer to get through his progressions at times. It took him a little bit longer to process things. Sometimes things would just happen a little bit slower than you wanted it to. Not that he can't improve in that area, but he's got to clean up his eyes and how quickly he's seeing the field.
And that's worrisome, right? I mean, going from Kentucky to the NFL, if you're processing slowly there, I mean, hopefully the hope is that you can get faster at that stuff, because he does have a quick release, like super fast. So like maybe that gives him that little extra bit of time to process because he can get rid of the ball so quickly. But you need to have that cleaned up. That needs to be quicker. That needs to be faster in the NFL, not slower.
And there's some parts of me that thinks like, okay, he's got these freshman receivers. He's got a terrible offensive line. He's dealing with this turf toe shoulder injury and dislocated finger. Like, is all this just like in his head for 2022? But because when I watch him, I see what he could be, like the next Justin Herbert. That's what I see, like, for ceiling wise.
Sure,
like
totally.
He could be Justin Herbert when you're seeing somebody do a rope 50 yards downfield right on the chest of a player. Needs coaching. Like Garrett said when we started, a lot of people have warts here. He's got warts. Why? He's my 4th rated quarterback. But if he gets drafted in the top 10, I'm taking him top 5 in my Superflex startup because he could beat Justin Herbert. That's what he could be.
I have the question in my notes. Is he going to, like, I don't know what he's going to be yet. I don't know if he's going to be Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, that type of guy. With
Jameis Winston.
or is he going to be like Carson Wentz? You know what I mean? Like flash a little bit, but have too many turnovers, never kind of get it all pulled together.
Has red hair.
Jake Locker.
And then all of a sudden, it just never comes together for him. And he bounces around for a little bit, but then he's out of the league. Like that, those are the outcomes I see for a guy like Will Levis. I don't know which one. I don't know which fork in the road he's going to take. Is he going to put in the work? Is he going to become, is he going to master all the footwork that he needs to do? Is he going to start speeding up that process and really dig in and learn the game? And that way it comes that much more natural and that much more quick. And, that pair that with his quick release, his ability to run the ball, and everything is married together and it looks great. You know what I mean? He could be that. And so there's a ton of upside with him there.
By all accounts, that's the kind of character that he possesses. Is he's a guy that's going to stay late, work, put the time in, and try to become that. So,
I mean, that's great news.
Trying to guess which quarterback is going to like blossom into who is like, it's tough for us to do.
It is
absolutely
it's tough for NFL GMs to get paid millions of dollars to do.
That's why if he's a top 10 pick, we kind of just have to throw the dart.
And it's nice when you see it out of Alabama. We expect them to win games. You're a quarterback for Alabama, like you don't have to be that good to win a lot of games.
Sure.
At Kentucky, you have to be pretty good to win a lot of games in the SEC.
You absolutely do. And another thing that I forgot to mention about Bryce Young, and we can bring it right into this conversation, he wasn't making a lot of tight window throws. He didn't need to.
He didn't need to.
Were wide ass.
That's true. That is a very good point.
And a guy like Will Levis here in Kentucky, he's got to make tighter throws. You know what I mean? He's got to make some of those kind of throws. So I do like seeing that out of maybe, the smaller school guys, maybe not the top of the rung in college football. Those guys have a tendency to have much better weapons around them.
And for Will Levis, when he got turf toe in week 5, he had to miss multiple weeks a game. He missed 5 games. They lost 4 out of 5 games, and they were just bad again. And to his credit, when he came back, they won. They made it their bowl game. They won their big bowl game because of him as well. So, he helped Kentucky put Kentucky on the map.
Yes.
I mean, Kentucky's always on the map, but you know what I mean? He helped Kentucky play good football. It was all because of Will Levis, all of it. So the potential is there. His ceiling's much higher than Bryce Young's.
I agree with that.
Much higher.
I agree with that totally, because he the numbers don't bear it out, but he can add something in the running game as well.
Yes.
In the NFL. He can do the zone read stuff and get you some cheap yards here and there.
Athlete for
sure.
Sure.
He absolutely is.
And he's got the size too to take that beating.
6'4",
and
230 pounds. Yeah, he could be
get across the goal line.
He's
kind of like a crazy man. When he scrambles,
a little too much sometimes.
He'll jump over people and lower his shoulder.
And that was
kind of like Josh Allen.
That was what put Josh Allen in my brain a little bit, because he does kind of throw his body around a little bit, but he's got the size to back it up. He's not 245 like Josh Allen, but 230 is a pretty solid quarterback.
Yeah. And I heard a lot of Josh Allen, when studying Will Levis, but I keep going back to now granted Justin Herbert's 6'6", but I kept going with his strong arm more to Justin Herbert. That's why I go.
He doesn't have Josh Allen's arm. He's got a strong arm, but it's not elite like Mahomes
I agree.
or Allen.
Yeah,
No,
I agree with
It's
that.
more on the quick release. Yeah.
But I would say, if I'm sitting at 1.5, so again, this is all presumption he's going top 10. If I'm sitting at 1.5 and Will Levis is there, I feel really good about that. I feel like I have a really upside player here.
Yep, I agree.
I have a player here who's probably not going to help me year 1 that much, which is I'm fine with if I'm at 1.5. I'm not even stuck in the middle. I'm kind of the bottom tier. So him not coming in, other people get helped out to be a better position to draft higher in 24 as well. So the 24 class, that top 5 is going to be super elite, just to let you know. 24, you're going to have Caleb Williams, Brock Bowers, Trayvon Henderson, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr. You want a top 5 pick. So he will also help you in that position as well. So if it doesn't work out, you'll be fine in 24 as well. So
let me ask you guys a general question real fast. Let's say Tampa Bay jumps into the top 5 and drafts Will Levis. Do you guys feel good about that type of move? Because I know it's obviously a team that needs a quarterback, but maybe they don't have the track record of bringing along a young quarterback. Maybe they don't have that guy.
If Bruce Arians was still the head coach, I'd feel a lot better.
I'd feel a lot better. You know what I mean? But is there a difference between them doing that or a guy like Frank Reich in your guys' mind? Because there is in my mind.
Or Shane Steichen from the Colts, who's worked with Jalen Hurts. That's who I want.
Before that, he was with Phillip Rivers and Justin Herbert. That's who he was working with.
So would you rather have a guy definitely drafted in the top 5 or top 10 or whatever this magical cutoff that Jared had talked about, or would you rather him land in a place that, hey, this guy has got a proven track record for developing quarterbacks? Because me personally, obviously both is ideal, but a defensive minded head coach that doesn't have a strong offensive staff and with a reputation of developing.
I'll say this:
that's a little iffy for me.
It's bleeding into next show a little bit, but Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, I feel confident enough wherever they go. I think that they have a good opportunity to flourish. I think Anthony Richardson and Will Levis need somebody more like that.
And that makes a lot of sense. Yep.
Agree.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Garrett.
Yeah.
I'm looking. I'm looking this way.
Garrett, how's the bottom of that totem pole looking?
Before we get into our next quarterback
Jared
from Matt's
just-
got for us, why don't you tell us a little bit about our friends at FFPC?
Yes, FFPC, absolutely the best place for that high stakes dynasty league. If you want to go over there and you want to play in a $77 league, you can do that. If you're like, I want to be a little bit more of a baller. I want $2,500. That sounds better to me. You can do that as well. So you can do whatever you want over at FFPC. The biggest selling point, we will say it every single time, because there's nothing worse than going into rebuild, getting the sweet team. You have all these picks in 2023 where I'm going to get Bijan. I'm going to get Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm going to get Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, and I'm going to build it all up. And then the league folds and everybody leaves and it's done. That literally does not happen at FFPC. It's never happened. And I don't think it ever will happen at FFPC. They will fill those orphans, even if they have to discount the price to make sure that they fill up those teams.
Fire sale.
They will make sure that happens. So all of these leagues always happen. So I hear all the time, I would do more dynasty, but I don't have the right guys to play with. Blah, blah. Go over to FFPC, get that taken care of. Better yet, when you go there, put in promo code NERDS. You want to take one of those $77 teams just to try it out? Well, you put promo code NERDS in, you get $25 off that entry. I'm not great at math, but I think that's about $52.
That's for orphans. That's for orphans
That's
too.
like 33% off.
That's the big season we're in right now, is the Dynasty Orphan season.
Yeah.
So you can get a $77 team for, if it's $25, you get $25 off your first year.
And it might be listed for $60, so you're really only getting it for like $40, $35. My math isn't good.
Get some sort of discount there. So head on over to FFPC. That's myffpc.com. Go to the Dynasty page. You can look for those orphans available. Make sure you use the promo code NERS to get that $25 off.
Okay, let's get back into it. The next quarterback here is Tanner McKee. Quarterback from Stanford, 6'6", a towering 6'6", 231 pounds, 9 3/8 inch hands. He is 22 years old, and he did a broad jump of 114 inches. I think he did a vertical 33. Not bad. Not great. Not bad. Last year, 2,947 yards passing, 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and he was another one of these guys with negative 90 on the rushing total.
The old Russian scale.
So,
You need to get Rich's rushing numbers.
What, the real rushing numbers?
Yeah, he doesn't include the negatives.
Well, whatever I downloaded from does. So there we go.
He'll be 23 when the season starts too.
Will he?
I think so.
Nah,
Turns 23 in the season.
Okay.
Just letting you know.
During the season?
Oh, wait. What month are we in?
It's March.
Yep.
Tax season.
Next month.
Next month.
That's why I don't know what day it is or what month. And yes, he'll be 23 in April, end of April.
Yep, coming soon. It's real funny with this draft class. Either like most of these guys are 6 foot tall and 25 years old. Like they're all old and
At
short.
least he's tall.
COVID.
He is. This
Except
guy's
for Stroud.
super tall, very skinny. Watching him
I'm talking about outside the top 5 guys and Bryce Young. They're 25 years old or 6 foot.
It's the COVID effect, man. These guys got extra years eligibility. They all hung around and
Boost their draft stock.
It's true.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I like Tanner McKee enough.
You always like those Stanford guys.
I do. I like Davis Mills.
well, if you like Davis Mills, here's 2.0.
Well, and for a guy that will
Could be the same guy.
Yeah.
For a guy that will probably go in a similar range, he's probably going to be 3rd, 4th, 5th round, somewhere in that range that he'll probably go. He's your stereotypical quarterback.
Back up.
He will be a pro style offense. He's got great size. I mean, when we're talking about size wise, he's got some of the best size of anybody in this class. So he at least has that going for him. He's got a fairly strong arm. It's not as strong as I want it to be for a guy of his size. I thought it was going to be a little bit better, but I think he's got a solid arm. I thought he navigated, for not a great athlete, I thought he navigated the pocket decently well. He's not going to get out and run. That's not his game overall. He does it from time to time, but that's not something that he's going to do very often. I think he was fairly accurate, but he didn't get the opportunities that some of these other quarterbacks did in these, high-flying offenses. This is a much more conservative, much more low-key offense, and he put up okay numbers. But I think he's somebody that could perform better at the next level, similar to Davis Mills. Davis Mills didn't put up great numbers either at Stanford, but played up and was a solid quarterback at the next level. I don't think he's going to be great, but I think he's of this next tier. After we talk about these top 4 and Hendon Hooker, he's kind of the next guy after that, and I'm comfortable with him there.
Yeah, he's right there. If you like Davis Mills, this is 2.0. Literally, I think we said the same thing about Davis Mills. Like, if given the opportunity, like this guy could probably start some games,
and he did, and he was solid for 2 years.
He was okay, solid. I mean,
for a terrible Texans team, he did better
Taco
than
Bell on
Mac
than a
Jones.
solid, but it's okay.
He did more than Mac Jones did.
Well, yeah, it's not saying a lot though. If you like Davis Mills, like Garrett said, this guy has, he's big. He throws a really nice spiral. Mm-hmm. His arm's strong enough. But he's a pure pocket passer. He's a mature fella. He's already married. he already did his Mormon mission, so he's a mature guy.
Canadian.
So he's got Canadian. But
who was that?
Chuba Hubbard. Canadian.
What can I say? He's Canadian.
I mean, his interceptions sometimes are a little too much. His accuracy and ball placement are mad to me. To me, he's somebody who relies on his arm more than like his mechanics, really. So he stands back there, just kind of relies on his strong arm. Garrett mentioned it. I mean, this dude's got some heavy feet, man. He's not very mobile in the pocket, and when he does like get pressured, like he just falls apart.
That was going to be my biggest knock on the guy. Like he gets like twitchy when things are around him, and that like he's pretty good. He's got pretty good accuracy, to your point, when things are clean around him. But he gets twitchy when stuff's going on around him. He looks like a baby, not giraffe, yeah, baby giraffe. Like he's got because he's such long legs and everything. Like it just
sounds like Davis Mills giraffe.
That was the neck. This guy, I don't know.
Giraffes are known for, Matt. Necks.
But they got long legs too, Rich.
Okay, I guess, yeah. If you're 6'6", I hope you got long legs too.
I don't know, man.
He does have a pretty long neck looking at this picture. I mean,
if you're 6'6", a lot of part of
you
you
look at that. That's a pretty good size neck.
I mean, it's not Davis Mills' neck. But
but no one is.
The collar does hide a little bit. You're right.
Yeah.
But Matt, I mean, you saw when he gets pressured, his completion percentage went from 66.5% to 41%.
It was a big time drop off, and that's my biggest knock on the guy. To me,
Carson Strong.
He's less Davis Mills and more like Mike. He's like more Mike Lennon to me.
He's less Davis Mills, more Carson Strong.
Okay. I mean that's a more. We don't. What is Carson Strong like for the NFL?
Is he even NFL?
Yeah, exactly. There's no comp.
No,
that's why I went Mike Lennon. Like Mike Lennon was a very tall guy. He looked to me very similar to this
long
guy,
neck.
and he had a long neck. He had long legs. But he just never materialized into anything more than just
Speaking of long, let's talk about Nick Foles.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Once in a while was okay.
So obviously there's 4 top quarterbacks in this class that are projected to go like early first round. Is there any strategy that you guys use when, most of these other guys that we're going to be talking about are, borderline rookie picks. Do you guys have any strategy on like how you approach taking other quarterbacks outside of the first round? Like, is there any sort of attributes that you're looking for? Draft capital, like landing spot, like what are you guys looking for?
So for me,
do you take quarterbacks outside, these guys? Or obviously, if they're second round pick, you probably would. But
yeah,
we're talking
day 3 guys,
third and plus.
So for me, like I hadn't had like a solid, hey, this is what I do in this kind of situation. But this past year, I thought to myself when Brock Purdy like kind of came out of nowhere, like. It's guys like that make me go kind of rethink my processes. Like, what did I miss in that evaluation that like, because he was so good at the end of the year. I mean, he's looking like a guy that could end up being their franchise quarterback.
You missed everything because you didn't watch the film.
How did I miss exactly? Like, how did I miss that? Why didn't I like at least catch on? And Kyle Shanahan's offense has been so QB friendly for years. Like, that's somebody that, like, in the back of my mind, I should, no matter where they get drafted, I should have a look at that guy. You know what I mean? Because Kyle has seen something in him, and he makes his offense super easy for these quarterbacks. He just seems to rotate whatever backup kind of comes in, and he makes him look like a competent NFL quarterback. Yeah. So are there any other quarterback friendly systems like that around the league? maybe it's a Kyle Shanahan disciple or something like that, like a Mike McDaniels. Like if they draft a guy super late, Mr. Irrelevant or something like that, do you go ahead and just pick him up on a whim? Because who knows, the guy in front of him is concussed 3 times in one season. Is that the process? Do you just kind of go after guys in systems? Because I think that is kind of going to be where
I think that's a big part of it.
Where I land.
Yeah, I mean, a guy like Skylar Thompson looked pretty good in Miami system for that one star. He looked pretty good. So that's kind of saying, hey, does Mike McDaniel's system kind of translate from where?
Exactly.
Kyle Shanahan. And Skylar Thompson came in and looked pretty good, right? So, I think it's a really good point what you just said. Like, what system do they land in? What kind of path do they have? They're like, to Miami, we know Tua's head is, he's one hit away from having multiple starts. Now they have Skylar Thompson, they might be happy with them, but like a situation like that,
But those are like that. I feel like is obvious. You know what I mean? Like the next layer is just the flat out system. You know what I mean? Like because when Brock Purdy was drafted, Jimmy Garoppolo was there, Trey Lance was there. Nobody was paying. I didn't even pay attention to Brock Purdy. I was like, third quarterback. They just drafted him.
Nobody is Mr. Irrelevant.
Tossed him in the bin and looked the other direction. And that's what I need to eliminate out of my process. That's what I've found I need to eliminate out of the process from a guy like Brock Purdy hitting and me like completely ignoring.
And in Superflex leagues where you have the rights to players for 2 years, that's probably your best gamble. Like instead of gamble on like these running backs or tight end, like you're probably like, okay, what quarterback was drafted? Let me just draft him. I can put it on, throw my taxi squad 2 years. If someone comes up,
what system was he drafted into?
What scope with it?
Is it a defensive minded coach with no real background of bringing guys along? Maybe those guys are still discarded, but or is it a guy that has brought along players?
When it comes to traits though, the 2 traits that if I'm going to take a day 3 quarterback, if I'm going to draft one, I want guys that release the ball quickly and process information quickly because those guys stick on NFL teams. Guys with fantastic athletes or huge arms, that's awesome. But if they can't pick up the playbook and they can't get the ball out quickly, they're not going to stick as a backup for these teams for very long. So the guys that actually have a chance to stick around, and then if they get a start, do they produce or not? Then we'll find out about them. But I at least want a chance for them to stick around. And if they're quick processors and they get the ball out quick, chances are they're going to be able to stick around.
I've said in this podcast for the last 9 years, my 2 favorite attributes for a quarterback that I want are I want to be smart, I want to be accurate. Those are my 2. I don't care if he could throw the ball 90 yards. I don't care if he throw 50. I don't care if he throw a ball through the uprights from his knees. I don't care. I want to be smart. I want to be accurate. Most throws in the NFL are under 20 yards, and you just want to be able to process information, like you said, and you want to be able to put the ball on the numbers. That's what I want because then you'll have an opportunity at some point.
And I think mobility definitely is starting to come in a lot more. And I think this next guy you guys are about to talk about kind of fits in to maybe a guy you might want to throw into that kind of mold.
All right, so the next guy up on the list here is Stetson Bennett, quarterback out of Georgia.
He's on my list of draftable players.
Yeah, he is. 5'11", 192 pounds.
Stetson Bennett?
I just wanted to make sure that's just the same guy you were talking about.
I looked at the list.
10 a chance. He is 25 years old. He'll be 26
October.
In October. He ran a 4.67 though.
Mature fellow.
In the 40-yard dash. So that's a
winner.
Yeah, that's not too bad. 118-inch broad, 33.5-inch vertical. Last year he threw for 4,128 yards. 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So, I mean, impressive numbers there. And he did he rush for 10 touchdowns?
Bennett, yeah, he ran for quite a bit.
205 yards and 10 other touchdowns. That's wow.
Dude, he was good, man.
I did not see I copied all these stats down from a site. That's a lot, man. Holy cow! I just did not realize he had scored 10 touchdowns.
Right place, right time, man. Goes a long way. Hell of a defense, hell of an offense.
Heck yeah.
Well, and there were a lot of highly rated quarterbacks that have been in their quarterback room, and he just kind of kept seeming to keep the job.
Yeah,
it's impressive.
He's got a cool story. Came in as a walk-on, left the program.
Left for junior JUCO, and actually called after after Justin Fields left. They called him and said, "Hey, want to come back and try out again?" And he did. And then he wasn't even the starter, and the starter got hurt, and he came in and won a national championship.
Just speaks to his character and the type of guy he is.
Character in the sense of work ethic and determination.
There
are some other off the field questionable things character wise.
Did he get drunk or something like that? He got drunk.
It was during the combine. He got arrested or not arrested. He they locked him up for the night.
Senior Bowl? No,
It was during the Senior Bowl, but he wasn't at the Senior Bowl.
In his defense, he's 25 years old. He can drink.
It's true, but you don't want to be in jail.
No, I know.
No,
But he's not.
does.
He's not like 20.
Right. He's not underage.
He's 25, dude. Like he's been drinking at bars for 5 years, 4 years.
When I watch Stetson Bennett, he's on my draftable list of superflex quarterbacks because there's a lot of guys in this list that are not draftable for me. He falls on a category of a draftable because he is, to me, he screams perennial backup, right? Like he's going to be on a roster and maybe gets an opportunity just like he did in college and he sticks, right? And like he's Andy Dalton. I mean, Andy Dalton's way bigger than him, but you know what I mean? So
Garrett said Colt McCoy earlier.
Colt McCoy's a really good stat. You know, like,
Yeah.
But like, he's more of like,
not a
he's like
stat.
that AJ McCarron, right?
No,
Like,
Colt
on a-
McCoy is a good stat. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good
Cut it
stat.
puts
You know,
up numbers.
AJ McCarron, like on a really good team, right place, right time. You know, Ken Dorsey, back with Miami. But you know, this is somebody who reads the field really well, throws with really good anticipation. He's always safe, right? Throws it safe, keeps his interceptions really, really low, runs the ball really, really well. Didn't take a lot of sacks at Georgia at all. So his mobility is very solid, as you mentioned, with his rushing stats. His frame will limit that a little bit at the NFL, but you know, he has that in his back pocket. He's only 5'11". He has a really quick release, but he's older. His size and frame aren't ideal for the NFL. His deep ball is just okay.
It is okay.
At best. And I mean, he benefited from a lot of talent around him. He did. So I in a super flex league, again, this is the kind of player like once I get through all the running backs, I get through those tight ends, like, oh, Stetson Bennett there, I'll grab him. I'll stick on my taxi squad for 2 years, see how this plays out.
Yeah, he's a guy that's going to get a shot somewhere. You know, he's 5'11", 192, so he's got the same sort of questions that Bryce Young does because they're roughly the same size. But he doesn't have probably any. I mean, his upside's just nowhere near what Bryce Young's is. He's a distributor. I feel like he can go operate an offense. You know what I mean? Like he's 25 years old. He's done it. I feel like once he gets into an offense in the NFL, he's going to absorb it and he's going to be able to run that offense. It's never going to look great. Like I don't think he doesn't do anything exceptionally well.
He's Gardner Minshew, right? Like he comes in, you're like, could he lead an NFL team? Maybe he could lead an NFL. He's like Tyler Heineke, Gardner Minshew, like, could he run an NFL team? Like he comes in and he has a game that looks good. You're like, ooh, Stetson Bennett.
Baker Mayfield right now.
Like he won back-to-back national championships. Let's give this guy, like he's the guy that, you know, everybody's always screaming for the backup quarterback when the quarterback's not playing well. Like, I mean, he won that back-to-back championships at Georgia. Like he looked really good. Like, well, the defense didn't really plan for him. Oh, that doesn't mean anything. You think he goes in there and win back-to-back natties versus like Alabama?
I will give him some credit. Watching him during the NFL Combine, he was ready because his deep ball looked solid.
He looked good.
His out routes, everything was on point. Now, it's in shorts.
It's in shorts.
No pressure.
No rush
Like
there.
there's nothing there.
There's nobody
But
that's 6'6"
He's
with
a
their
little
arms
more
up.
put together than I thought he was too.
he is. He's solid. So
Real good combine.
he did himself some favors there. But I still don't know if there's a legitimate path to be a consistent starter at the NFL level.
Probably not.
That's where I kind of land with him. Like I'm not sure he's consistent.
I think
enough.
he's gonna have a Colt McCoy career.
He has
Perennial backup is my notes.
he has adequate
Those guys have value.
adequate arm strength and stuff. I mean, like, so for, super flex, if he's hanging around in the 6th round, I'd definitely swoop
fifth
him
round
up.
even. I would do it. Yeah.
fifth, 6th round. That's kind of where I see Stetson Bennett.
If he's a perennial backup and he's going to get every couple of years or so in here, like a couple game, 2-game stretch, 3-game stretch of a starter, that's value. That's your flex spot. That's
Right.
value.
That's absolutely.
All right.
All right, so moving on to our next prospect, we're going to go Jaren Hall, quarterback BYU. 6 foot, 207, 9.5 inch hands, 24 years old, going to be 25 here
25
old guy.
this month.
Yep.
So 3,171 yards passing, 31 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 350 yards rushing, and an additional 3 touchdowns this past season.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
So Jaren Hall
Moving on.
is a solid athlete,
Yeah.
and he was physically present at the Senior Bowl. Look, I don't want to tear the kid to shreds because there are small things that you do see that excite you. Specifically, he's a good athlete. I mean, he is a very good athlete.
Mm-hmm.
The problem that I had watching his tape is the arm strength just really isn't there. He struggled on deep throws. He didn't have a lot of velocity on his throws consistently. He seemed to, even though he was a good athlete, pressure still seemed to bother him quite a bit.
I thought he looked his best when he was rolling out and throwing the ball.
I agree. I think that was, and he could use a little bit of the athleticism and get outside the pocket because he's not a big guy. So this screams like 6th round developmental type of quarterback to me.
Definitely.
That has some traits, but just not enough to really get me very excited.
I did not see the same sort of arm strength. I thought his arm strength was adequate.
Really? I didn't like it at all.
You didn't like it at all,
No.
huh? It wasn't enough that I was like, oh, this guy stinks. But maybe it was because I watched him right after Stetson Bennett or something, and that guy doesn't have a gun
it didn't look too bad compared to him.
It's just like, all right, yeah, that looks normal. That's fine.
I just, when you looked at a lot of those, it wasn't even necessarily the deep passes as much as it was like in those tight window throws when that guy needs to rocket one in there.
Mm-hmm.
It just
has no
didn't,
velocity.
it didn't have the zip that I wanted it to.
He doesn't have zip. He's small. There were some things on tape I liked about Jaren Hall.
Me too.
I thought he had really good accuracy. I thought he had some really nice touch. I thought he led his receivers pretty good. I thought, seeing he was super athletic. He did play baseball for 2 years at BYU as well. Like Matt said, I thought he looked really good on the run. He throws the ball. I thought he threw the ball really well on the run. But I also thought Zach Wilson threw the ball really well on the run.
That's what I hate to say it, but like I was watching him and I'm like, I really like Zach Wilson in the same offense, and now all of a sudden this guy he looks okay.
That's
you know what I mean?
sucks. I love
and I'm
Zach
like,
Wilson
I'm like,
offense.
I'm like,
He duped me so good.
is it just the offense that like kind of is an easy college offense to operate?
It is.
And yeah. So
But to be fair, I think Zach Wilson's more in the head. He's out there worrying about his mom's best friend more than the playbook. So that's an issue. So
it could have something.
yeah, I mean,
to do with it.
I think he's interested. He falls in the category what we just talked about with Jared. Like if he's there in the 6th round instead of taking some other wide receiver, I would draft Jaren Hall in the 6th round.
And to your point, if this was a guy that got drafted by like a Kyle Shanahan or Mike McDaniels, I'd be like, okay, I think he's got some things to work with. I will maybe I'll bump him up into like the 4th round or 5th round. You know what I mean? Instead of like 5th/6th round consideration, kind of one of those things. So I do think out of the guys that we're kind of talking about, I think he's got a little bit of upside. And
he didn't have to make a ton of reads in the offense too. I like to see guys that have to make a few more reads that are a little more advanced there.
But he went through his reads, I thought, okay. When I watched, I thought he went through his reads pretty quick.
When given the opportunity, I thought so. But most of their plays, they didn't require it.
it was just
turn,
throw.
And to be fair,
Turn and throw.
outside like the big schools, there's a lot of schools.
It's
that
true.
I mean,
That's
we made
honestly
the same argument about like Hendon Hooker, like he was amazing. Like he worked with pretty much just half the field. So who's our last prospect?
All right, our last guy is Jake Haener, Fresno State quarterback.
Guess how big this dude is.
It's gonna sound like a broken record, but he's 6 foot 207, just like the last guy.
You got JH and JH.
9 3/8 inch hands. He's gonna be 24 in the next couple of days, and he had 114 inch broad jump, 35 inch vertical. Last year he threw for 2,896 yards, 20 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a negative rushing stat line of negative 123 yards last year, 2 touchdowns. So let's see. What do you guys think?
I mean, he left Fresno State with the highest completion percentage in school history, 68.1%.
Woo!
4th all time in passing yards and completions. 5th all time in passing touchdowns. Athletic, good accuracy on short and intermediate routes. Thought he did a good job leading his receiver. Thought he was a pretty smart quarterback, good pocket presence. Showed some anticipation. Stood in the pocket pretty tall.
You
Wasn't afraid to
thought
do that.
so? Because I thought the dude was like fadeaway jumper.
Oh, really?
Every time
See, I thought he handled the blitz pretty well.
Yeah, I thought he did too.
Every time somebody was in his face,
I'll go back. I'll go back and watch.
Watch it.
Okay.
Dude does not stand in to make a throw. He fades.
All right, I'll go back and watch.
I thought he did not have a quick release. I thought he did not have a strong arm. I thought he stared down his receivers hardcore. Inconsistent on the deep ball. Had a couple of nice back shoulder. It was weird because
That's the first guy I had just like nothing.
he had a
See,
couple.
I actually kind of like Jake Haener.
Did you?
See,
Yeah.
but it was weird because like his deep ball, like he'd throw a ball and like a nice back shoulder catch. I'm like, oh, that's a nice throw. And then like 2 in a row, you're like, he's like 10 yards away. You're like, what the hell was that? So it's like, and when he missed a lot of his deep ball, I saw a stat, I don't know if this is PFF or what. On his deep balls, he only threw the ball 20 yards plus downfield 21% of the time. That's it. So he barely threw the ball downfield, which with an arm like that, you don't really expect it to him. He's not really on my board.
I wrote he is an undersized guy that doesn't do anything exceptionally well.
Yeah, he's off my Superflex
He
board.
might get a cup of coffee in the league, but we'll likely see him in an AFL or XFL uniform.
Yeah, I liked him a little bit more than you guys did. He actually had like a fantastic career touchdown to interception ratio, the 53-12. So, I mean, he didn't make poor decisions. He put the ball where it needed to be for the most part.
Uncle Rico would throw a ball over a mountain.
But not where it needs to be. Just over. Not to spot. So I actually liked him a little bit. I liked him more than Jaren Hall.
Okay.
Where I didn't want Hall at all.
Tomato.
Yeah. So
A different one.
Right.
To each his own there at the end. But still, like best case scenario, I'm drafting with like the 11th pick in the 4th round. Like, I'm not taking him anywhere in Superflex League.
4th round's way too high for me.
The 11th pick in the 4th round is.
Dude,
But that point is
There'll be a tight end there.
the 17th pick in the 4th round is
$0
too much for me.
$0 bid after the rookie draft.
There you go.
So that's it. We're going to get our next episode. We're going to break down CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Hendon Hooker, Max Dugan, Malik Cunningham. And we'll talk a little Aiden O'Connell, bring up Adrian Martinez.
Hey, slow down on Aiden O'Connell.
Aiden.
No.
Clayton Toon, Dorian Thompson. If you want to jump in this episode, all you got to do is go to Underdog, deposit $10, use the promo code NERDS, and we'll lube you up. And we'll get all that and our tools, and you can watch this film on these players too and see what we're talking about. We'll be back next week breaking down the rookie running backs, leading the show off with no other than
Bijan
Robinson. Can't wait.
Adios.